Hey everybody, it's me, Gruey, and today I'm going to be going over your 428 classwork. So today you guys are working with pages 25 through 28 of Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, Between the World and Me. So today, for those of you following along with the PDF, I'll be going ahead and saying the page number for you guys. For those of you following along with the Google Doc, I'll go ahead and say the paragraph number for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into Ta-Nehisi Coates' book. Page 25, paragraph 1. Coates writes, "The streets were not my only problem. If the streets shackled my right leg, the school shackled my left leg. Fail to comprehend the streets, and you gave up your body now. But fail to comprehend the schools, and you gave up your body later." Coates is essentially saying that if you didn't understand the rule of the street, you lost your life then. But you lost your life later if you didn't understand the rules of school or understand school. Let's continue. Coates says, "I suffered at the hands of both, but I resent the schools more." Oh, this is interesting. He likes school a lot less than he likes the streets, or he has a stronger dislike of school. "There was nothing sanctified about the laws of the streets. The laws were amoral and practical. You rolled with a posse to the party as sure as you wore boots in the snow or raised an umbrella in the rain. These were rules aimed at something obvious, the great danger that haunted every visit to Shake and Bake, every bus ride downtown. But the laws of the schools were aimed at something distant and vague. What did it mean to, as our elders told us, grow up and be somebody? And what precisely did this have to do with an education rendered as rote discipline? To be educated in my Baltimore mostly meant always packing an extra number 2 pencil and working quietly. Educated children walked in single file on the right side of the hallway, raised their hands to use the lavatory, and carried the lavatory pass when en route. Educated children never offered excuses, certainly not childhood itself. The world had no time for the childhoods of black boys and girls. How could the schools? Algebra, biology, and English were not subjects so much as opportunities to, top of 26, better discipline the body, to practice writing between the lines, copying the directions legibly, memorizing theorems extracted from the world they were created to represent. All of it felt so distant to me. I remember sitting in my 7th grade French class and not having any idea why I was there. I did not know any French people, and nothing around me suggested I ever would. France was a rock rotating in another galaxy around another sun in another sky that I would never cross. Why precisely was I sitting in this classroom? Paragraph 2. The question was never answered. I was a curious boy, but the schools were not concerned with curiosity. They were concerned with compliance, meaning following directions. I loved a few of my teachers, but I cannot say that I truly believed any of them. Some years after I'd left school, after I'd dropped out of college, I heard a few lines from Nos that struck me. "Ecstasy, coke, you say it's love, it is poison. Schools where I learned they should be burned, it is poison." Paragraph 3. That was exactly how I felt back then. I sensed the schools were hiding something, drugging us with false morality, so that we would not see, so that we did not ask. Morality meaning your sense of right and wrong. So he felt like school was teaching the wrong values in a way. Coates goes on to say, he thinks they did this so that we would not ask why for us and only us is the other side of free will and free spirits an assault upon the bodies. This is not a hyperbolic concern, meaning he's not exaggerating. When our elders presented school to us, they did not present it as a place of high learning, but as a means of escape from death and penal warehousing, meaning jail. Top of 27. Fully 60% of all young black men who drop out of high school will go to jail. This should disgrace the country, but it does not. And while I couldn't crunch the numbers or plumb the history back then, I sensed that the fear was marked West Baltimore could not be explained by the schools. Schools did not reveal truths, they concealed them. Perhaps they must be burned away so that the heart of this thing might be known. Unfit for the schools and in, I'm sorry, paragraph 4. Unfit for the schools and in good measure wanting to be unfit for them and lacking the savvy I needed to master the streets, I felt there could be no escape for me, or honestly, anyone else. The fearless boys and girls who would knuckle up, call on cousins and crews, and if it came to it, pull guns, seemed to have mastered the streets. But their knowledge peaked at 17 when they ventured out of their parents' homes and discovered that America had guns and cousins too. I saw their futures in the tired faces of mothers dragging themselves onto the 28 bus, swatting and cursing at 3-year-olds. I saw their futures in the men out on the corner yelling obscenely at some young girl because she would not smile. Some of them stood outside liquor stores waiting on a few dollars for a bottle. We would hand them a 20 and tell them to keep the change. They would dash inside and return with Red Bull, Mad Dog, or Cisco. Then we would walk to the house of someone whose mother worked nights, play Fuck the Police, and drink to our youth. We could not get out. The ground we walked on was tripwired. The air we breathed, top of 28, was toxic. The water stunted our growth. We could not get out. Paragraph 5. After a year, I watched the boy with the small eyes pull out a gun. My father beat me for letting another boy steal from me. 2 years later, he beat me for threatening my 9th grade teacher. Not being violent enough could cost me my body. Being too violent could cost me my body. We could not get out. I was a capable boy, intelligent, well-liked, but powerfully afraid. And I felt vaguely, wordlessly, that for a child to be marked off for such a life, to be forced to live in fear, was a great injustice. And what was the source of this fear? What was hiding behind the smokescreen of streets and schools? And what did it mean that number 2 pencils, conjugations without context, Pythagorean theorems, handshakes, and head nods were the difference between life and death? Were the curtains drawing down between the world and me? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we pause for today. With your classwork, you guys are looking at Coates' argument about schools. So, if you need help with that, please tune in to my next video. If not, I will catch you on the flip side. All right, toodles.